What is addiction? How do I know what it means to be addicted? I'm Jessica and I'm with Life Counseling Solutions, and this is something that I specialize in. Many years ago, I started learning about it. I lived through it, researched it, studied it, done a lot of trainings on it, and something that I've been very interested in. And I hope to take this time right now to bring some clarity on what it is and that question. Now, when we talk about it, we're talking about maybe not so classic example. We are looking at the person who maybe is a college student and they're drinking with their sorority sisters, or the person who might just binge drink on the weekends, the individual who might smoke some pot here and there to calm their nerves, or maybe somebody who takes Adderall to help them focus better, but maybe not as prescribed. And there's this misunderstanding or confusion about how do I know it has become problematic, and it's not just a recreational thing. There are two major red flags that this has become problematic, and that is one, the person gets to a point where when they start drinking or using, they aren't able to stop when they want to. They lose the choice in deciding that. And this is a person who might say repeatedly, tonight I'm just going to have a couple, I got to wake up early tomorrow morning and I work or go to school or whatever, and I'm just going to have a few and then I'm going to stop. And they do that over and over and over again. Or the person who might say, I'm going to cut my use down just to the weekends and I'm not going to do it during the day or the weekdays, and I'm going to cut it down to none. This is a person who kind of starts talking about or trying to cut down at some point, and it gets to the point where we aren't able to do that. We try to, but every time in a setting when we start, we aren't able to selectively stop. This is a person who it turns from a couple to a bottle on a reoccurring basis. And then the other way that we know there's a major concern that this has become problematic is that they've developed a tolerance. And what that means is when I first started drinking or using, I needed this amount of whatever it may be, alcohol or other substances, to feel some level of intoxication. And then years later, or maybe not so much later, now I need a bottle or a whole lot more to feel that same effect. When those two things right there happen, lose control when we start and then develop a tolerance, then it has most likely become problematic. And a lot of times what happens when I tell individuals that I'm working with those things, they have pretty classic responses. And first, it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable to hear it. And they might say, well, it's not like I wake up in the morning and crack open a bottle. Or, oh, yeah, I have a friend so-and-so, and yes, she could definitely use the help. That would be her right there. Or maybe they think, well, it's not like I do it every day. It's not like I need it in the morning. I don't go through withdrawals. And that right there is one of my favorites, because that is a classic misconception that you are addicted if you use in the mornings or do it every day or go through withdrawals, because guess what? It doesn't have to get to that point. It does not have to get to that point to become a dependency. And the one thing that sticks out more than anything, it doesn't matter how much or how often you use, what matters is what happens when you do. And with somebody who does get to the point where they have become addicted, is they start to have consequences. And when I say consequences, a lot of times people might automatically think legal consequences, a DUI, or some other type of legal consequence, right? And that's not what it always is. It can, of course, happen. But what I'm talking about here is maybe getting into disputes with a spouse when we are drinking and because of our drinking, or not showing up to family events because of it, or not showing up to a class or to work because we're too hungover, or maybe we start to get sick because of our drinking or our use and we still continue it. Maybe We start to develop some chronic health conditions because of excessive use, and we still continue after that. Or maybe we get into an accident because we're under the influence or intoxicated, and we still continue after that. And one of the biggest consequences that occurs for somebody individually to decide on their own that they have to stop is you hit this emotional bottom more than anything else, more than the superficial layer of losing all the other things. It is more of a emotional place that we hit, and a consequence of feeling empty, feeling terrible about yourself, feeling guilty, remorseful about the things that we do when we drink or we use, but then we continue after that. And a lot of times we continue because we don't know what else to do. And that right there, in a nutshell, describes what it really means to be addicted. And for those of you, if there is anybody out there who's watching this right now and they're thinking, okay, sure, maybe that could be me. I sound like that a little bit. Well, I want you to know that there are solutions. There is a lot of different things that we can do. I hope that this brought some clarity and understanding to this question that many people have. And if you have any other questions or comments or anything, please leave it below or send me a message. I hope to create this soundboard so we can continue this conversation about addiction in a safe and healthy, positive environment. And I hope that you all have a great Sunday. And thank you so much for tuning in.